Eh. Hi, Jackie. Hi, my friend. I'm making dinner, so I thought I would come live and answer questions for people because I've had a lot of people ask questions today, so I thought I'd come live and see if I could help in real time. I am making leftovers. We call them plan-overs sometimes because I planned to have this a second time. It is naan that has a little bit of barbecue sauce on the bottom with some cheddar cheese and some chicken on top. I can't remember if you can have that. So, hi, everybody. I will be posting this on my YouTube. So if you have any questions generally about astrology, I would love for you to ask those. It is like a little mini pizza. It's supposed to be a taco kind of setup. It was from Target. It's one of their pre-made meals. So there's that. So this last night, when I was not dolled up, I shared about Pluto and the sun hanging out together, holding hands. And there was a little bit of an explosion of people asking questions. Hi, Brittany. And so what I thought I would come and answer is, what are some of your questions you have about astrology? I had a session myself today. Jackie, you would have loved this. And maybe, I don't know, maybe you're going to learn about it at that conference that I'm going to virtually and you're going to in person, and you get to hug Gregory. I had my Akashic records read today, and I've talked about this already in my Patreon. Apparently, I'm supposed to write a book about astrology. I need to get a spoon so that I can have my barbecue sauce. 1 second. So, for those of you who don't know who I am, I gotta shut my refrigerator or it beeps. My name is Sarah. I'm a mom. I'm an astrologist. I'm also a Tupperware lady. And what I love to do is make astrology accessible, because a lot of people get scared by it. They get scared by the idea that they're predestined to be a particular way because their chart is your chart. You know, when we have a birth chart, it's really no different than a birth certificate. And somebody had asked, they were adopted, they know their birth time is within 4 hours, which is a really great time, but they didn't know their exact, and their birth certificate doesn't have it. Most birth certificates don't. Neither one of my children have birth certificates that say the time they were born. I think it's one of the most useless pieces of paper, and it can get you a passport. That's my hot take on it. It's not going to be popular. What you need to ask for if you're trying to figure out your birth time is a live birth record. A live birth record is actually something that is filled out the day that you're born by the doctor. Sometimes the nurse is signed on it as well, and they put the time of birth on that. Birth certificate doesn't always have it. Now, some states do. Minnesota doesn't. So that's the hot take on that. Tomorrow, so I got off track. So Jackie, so this is what I was shared would be really good for me to write. Oh, that's really helpful. I think it's dumb when they don't, because otherwise all my children's birth certificates say is their name given at birth, who their parents are, and where they were born. That's it. They don't even say a hospital. It just says city, state. It's kind of silly if you think about it. In my opinion, it's not very helpful. So anyways, what I was suggested, Jackie, for me to do is I was invited, that word came up a lot, to create a book to understand astrology if you're not an astrologer and you don't really want to be one, because you don't need to be an astrologer to just understand your energy. Now, in my Patreon, I broached the subject the other day. Would people want to have classes, like tutorials of how to read your birth chart simply? That's something that I asked. And Jackie was all about that. Yes, Jackie? I don't know why it keeps telling me to go that way. So apparently that's supposed to be something that I do in my next live or my next thing. But in the meantime, I want to be helpful to people, and that's why I share the energy here. We have an event tomorrow that is Pluto and the Sun are holding hands. And that happens every year because the Sun goes around the zodiac every year. That's what happens. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad that I've been helpful. Because my whole shtick is to make it easier for you to understand yourself, because when you understand yourself and the people around you, it makes life easier. Especially those that are your children that you have around you, because children are more in tune with the energy of everything than we ever are, because they haven't been influenced as much as, especially as adults, because we have been told in society to act certain ways, to be certain ways, to behave certain ways. That has all been part of our societal upbringing. And that isn't bad, it's not good. It's not meant to throw shade at how you were raised in any way, shape, or form. It's just a fact. I was raised Roman Catholic in a single parent family. My oven is ready. Where my father committed suicide when I was 2 and my mom was pregnant with my sister. So to say that I had a traumatic childhood would be putting it mildly. In the 70s, therapy wasn't as much a thing as it is now. And understanding what was going on, if anything was ever hard, my mom's go-to answer was, go pray about it. Which is fine if you believe that. There's absolutely no shade at all to anybody who believes about that. I just believe sometimes when things are wrong or things don't feel great, you have to talk to other people too, hence therapy. And I'm so glad it's more readily accessible, especially since COVID, with the advent of telehealth and whatnot. That is very important. Now, why am I talking about this? Why am I giving my soapbox? Pluto is about to move into Aquarius. And Aquarius is a sign that we've actually had Pluto in last year. From end of March to beginning of June, Aquarius had Pluto in it. You survived that. You lived that. You're still here. You want to see what I did, Jackie? I hope it doesn't make you hungry. Let me see. How do I flip the camera? Flip camera. This is my dinner. So I'm going to bake these for 6 minutes or so. And while they're baking, we're going to talk. A lot of people are scared by Pluto. I am not one of those people. I'm pretty sure the reason why I'm not is he's nicely aspected in my chart. So him and I get along well. Pluto in mythology is the Roman name for Hades. So a lot of times when people are talking about Pluto and what it does, it talks about going into the underworld, learning what you need to learn, and becoming transformed. Pluto is the planet of transformation. So when Pluto and the sun come together tomorrow, the sun represents our core and our vitality. Pluto, planet of transformation, put the two together, are holding hands. Your core, your vitality, regardless of what sun sign you have, may be transformed a little bit tomorrow. Why? It's going to be a very strong energy. Why? Well, the astrological term is the sun and Pluto are going to be at the 29th degree. And in astrology, the 29th degree is a power degree because it's the last degree of that sign. Now, a lot of people, and by the way, you can ask questions and I'll happily try to answer them the best I can. I can't really answer specifics about your chart unless I see it. You can always book a session with me for that. Rewind. Where was I? So I had a lot of questions that came off of my video from yesterday saying, I don't have Capricorn. How can this be affecting me? I use modern rulership. Jessica, thank you for asking. And whole sign is more about I use Placidus, so the houses will be uneven. That's how I learned. So that's what resonates with me. There are times I do use whole sign. Usually that's more when I'm focusing a little bit more traditionally. But the modern rulership, I feel like it kind of depends on the situation. Like if I'm looking at the 8th house or Scorpio, hi oh goodness, how do I say your name? Amandriata. I butchered that. I am certain. I am so sorry. When I'm looking at Scorpio, for example, Scorpio is ruled by Mars and Pluto. So I think about what more applies to this situation, to this person. Both of my children are Scorpio risings. They are both Aquarius suns. They have different moon signs. So I live that life. Pluto energy is very different than Mars energy. And as an astrologer, I focus also on, I've had special training to help parents understand what the heck is going on with their kids by looking at their child's birth chart. And sometimes, depending on the age that the parent comes to me with their kid, it makes more sense to talk about Mars than it does Pluto. So Jessica, does that answer your question? I don't know that it does. You're going to have to tell me. I believe that both have valid thoughts behind it. So let me know if that answers your question. That was a very long-winded one. Where did you learn? I've been self-studying, but it's overwhelming. It can be. So I went through Deborah Silverman's School of Astrology. It's called DSA Astrology, and I believe her school is open right now. I graduated all the way through level 3. She has 3 levels. The first level focuses, then you should definitely check out her site. I highly recommend her program because the first level is all about understanding yourself. She starts with the elements, which she wrote a book about called The Missing Element. And when I work with parents, especially parents that have children that are 7 years or younger, that's what I focus more about, is what element their child's moon is in, their sun is in, and their rising sign is in. So that might help a little bit, Jessica, if you reread it. I don't know when's the last time you read it. It's very fascinating, and I resonated a lot with it. She talks about there being missing elements. When we go through the different periods of time, there's always going to be a missing element, but it could show up in different houses within the wheel. So level 1 in DSA is all about you. Level 2 is all about reading somebody else. And you learn about your Saturn cycles in level 1 as well, which I think are just fascinating. I fell down a rabbit hole with my Chiron cycles. Chiron is the wounded healer. It's the wound we had as a child. Mine's in Aries in the 12th house. And I believe the wound that I had as a child has to do with my father. We were never allowed to talk about how he died, why he died. We never really knew why he died because I was 2, so I don't really remember him at all. I have talked with him now in spirit, and that's been interesting too. He's quite the character. I think he would have just loved my husband. I really do. And I think those two would have been really a lot of trouble together. I really do. And my son. Oh my goodness. I may have dodged. Yeah. Anyways, I digress. But my Saturn or my Chiron cycles, they happen between what was it? I just had a transit class. 2 and Chiron stays in a sign for an erratic time period. And so I don't remember the exact time frame. You need to use what's called an ephemeris, which is a book that has all of the degrees and when everything moves to be able to see the cycles. What I figured out though is at one of my cycles, I was pregnant with Bonnie, my first child. At another cycle, I was pregnant with Connor, my second child. I'm about to have my Chiron return in 2025, which means a return is just when the planet that's up in the sky comes back to the place that it was when you were born. And I feel like the book that I wrote about Persephone, or maybe me becoming an author, is what's birthing it. And me being okay knowing that I have gifts that I can share with people if I choose. My gift that I share with people at the moment is exclusively astrology. Doesn't mean that won't change, but that's where I'm at. So, level 1 for DSA is about yourself. Level 2 is starting to read for somebody else. Level 3 is an intensive weekend where you do a one-on-one reading with yourself and another client, and you have a mentor who kind of sits here in the background and comes on for like the last 5 minutes, or if you struggle. It's a very small group. I had 5 people in my little small group, and you have a bigger cohort of like 30 people or something like that. They're listening with cameras off, so they're hearing what other people's views are. So Jessica, if you want to learn more about astrology and it feels overwhelming, and you already like Deborah Silverman, I highly recommend you check out her website. It might be dsaastrology.com, but I'm sure you can Google it. Jackie is one of the people in my Patreon. She's also one of the people that was in the writing cohort I was in. And I had a brainstorm earlier this week about using my Patreon as a way to be a teacher. Because I was a teacher for 14 years. I taught remedial reading for 14 years. And Jackie has always shared whenever we got together for our book talks, she really would love to learn. And Jackie, I really hope this is okay, I'm sharing. Hi, Janelle. She's always wanted to learn how to make it simple. And my word for the year is simple. And so Rebecca the Ghost Guide has these modules in her Patreon that share how to do different things. So I thought that would be perfect. So Janelle here, she's one of my friends. She lives in Minnesota. You should go follow her. We both sell Tupperware together. We're what's called business leaders. We came from the same organization, became business leaders at the same time. And she has cute little videos about her pug and Tupperware and all of the things. You're in North Dakota, Jessica? I live in Minnesota. Janelle is from North Dakota. We were destined to meet. I hope you follow me. What I love about Janelle is she is the most optimistic person I've ever met in my life. So, sometimes she's a little too cheery for me in the morning because we've had to go to meetings together, and she's a morning person and I am not. She can attest to that. I'm more of a mid-afternoon. Mid-afternoon is really good for me, I think. So there's that. So would putting together a series, and I suppose I could do it here too, but I don't understand how to do the pay series thing. Would doing a series on Patreon where you could easily understand your chart, and then I would, because I don't do anything half-assed, then for those that are parents, how is that different from looking at your child's? Because when I was going through DSA, Jessica, I had my kids' charts beside me. I don't know if you're a parent. You should check out my Patreon. It's in my link tree. What I would do is you need to look at your child's chart differently than you look at yourself, because they are still growing. They are still evolving. And like when my kid was 12, if I had gone to Tara, who I learned that part from, she would never tell me that my kid is going to go to college and do data analytics, because at age 12, that's not really something that a kid needs to know. That's not something a parent needs to know. What I need to know at age 12 for my Connor is, why does he struggle with reading at school? Do you know how humbling it is to have a person whose profession at that time was a reading teacher, and my kid struggled with reading? That's a lot, right? So that's what I would have wanted to know. And that's what I work with parents, depending on what age. And I believe because I have this background knowledge of being a teacher, I can, with authority, say, this is what might be helpful in middle school versus this is what a 2-year-old wants. So I'm glad you would be interested, Jessica. Let me know. I'm going to post this on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, let me know if that's something that interests you too. Currently, my Patreon at all levels receives my email newsletter that I send out, which is free on Saturdays. They get it early, and I gave it to them yesterday, pretty much right after I was done reading it. And Jackie was like, oofta, this resonates, which was awesome. Can definitely see how that would have been helpful when my kiddo was young. Yeah, I really wish I would have known astrology back then, because it certainly would have been easier. Oh, my children couldn't be more different and the same at the same time. And Janelle knows my kids. She's actually seen them grow up. So, yeah, I think that's something I need to do. I just have to figure out how to construct it. So, I guess what I need, and I don't have anything to write this stuff down, so I would love to brainstorm sometime. If I may, and maybe that becomes a live that I do so I can replay and write down all the ideas. because when my food is done, I'm going to stop the live so that I can eat because I'm hungry. What would be some ideas that would be helpful at a very basic level? Like I know my sun, moon, and rising, maybe. I might know how to cast a chart, but I have no idea what this circle means or the lines mean. Where would I start? I feel like I would start with the elements just like I do with parents of young children, because I really do believe the elements, just like Deborah teaches in her school, is a great foundation. I'm also ruled by an earth sign. My rising sign's an earth sign. I'm a Taurus rising. So my big three are a Libra sun, Aquarius moon, and Taurus rising. All the people worried about Pluto going into Aquarius, I have an Aquarius moon. My children have stelliums all in Aquarius. I am not worried. Hi, Sarah. We get to have Pluto in Aquarius for 20 years. Oh, so I take a class once a month called Archetype Awakenings, and that had taught me a ton about why Aquarius is not a water sign and it's an air sign. So the whole idea is actually based on the constellation because he is the water barrier. Now, the little person that is the constellation it's not a really great myth. Just gonna leave it there. It's not a great myth in the respect of why he became a constellation, but his job was to bring water to the gods. His job was to bring the ambrosia to the gods. And if you look at the constellation itself, he's actually pouring everything out of the urn into Pisces. That's what he's supposed to be symbolizing. Now, what's interesting about that is, Jackie, there's trigger warnings with that myth. Just saying. At least I wish I would have had trigger warnings before I heard the presentation. I would have been a little bit more prepared. But the thing to know about Pisces, well, actually, I'm going to give you a quick lesson real quick. The zodiac starts with Aries, even if you don't have, we're just going to start with Aries. The first three are Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. Those are personal. Those are all about you. Aries is about the self. Taurus is all about how you feel comfortable, and Gemini is how you communicate and how you think. Then we have starting to go out into the world just a little bit, because we have Cancer, we have Leo, and we have Virgo. So we're starting to edge out. Cancer is about how you're home. A lot of times it's your mother. Leo is about how you find joy. It's about yourself, what makes you shiny, what makes you bright. A lot of Leos that I work with sometimes are very shy because they've been told they were too shiny. They were too out loud. They were too, look at me, kind of a thing. They didn't need to be told that, and so they shrunk into the corner. That's what I've noticed about Leos. Virgos are about your daily work and service. Once you cross that DC line, so there's a thick line that goes, AC is your rising sign, DC is your relationship line. Once you cross that, this is all about working with other people. Everything below here, that's nighttime stuff. It's internal. All of this stuff here is internal. All the stuff up here is external. And the closer, the more you go this way, the broader it comes. So in the 7th house or Libra, we're dealing with relationships, and those are one-on-one. It doesn't have to be romantic. It could be partnerships, okay? We have our nodes in Aries and Libra right now. Then you have Scorpio that deals with investments. So where Taurus was about your personal wealth and what you personally wanted, Scorpio can be about the investments you make or inheritances you get, and spirituality and the occult and believing in mysteries and wanting to figure them out. Trust me, I have 2 Scorpio rising children. They like to have all the answers all the time. And you cannot BS anybody with strong Scorpio. You just can't. You shouldn't anyways to do it anyways, but they will sniff you out. And I know when my kids are lying because they're not good at it. Then you have Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the teacher and the learner all at one. It's going out to foreign travel. It's when the moon's in Sagittarius, I usually want to try a new restaurant that's from a different ethnic background, kind of a thing, to just see what's different. That is starting to get into the other. When we get to Capricorn to Pisces, that is completely collective stuff. Capricorn typically deals with how you present yourself to the outside world. A lot of times it's reflected in your career. Aquarius is your community and your friends. If you have a lot of Aquarius, what I've noticed with the clients that I have a lot of Aquarius with, and myself personally being an Aquarius moon, is, oh, these were a little bit too long, but that's okay. They're just a little toasty. What I've noticed is your family can sometimes be found family, meaning your friends become your family. And that's what it is for me. It's why I don't mind, especially when the moon is in Aquarius, when my children would much rather hang out with their friends than hang out with us. That used to be a like, why don't you want to be with us? Well, that's not who they are at all. And then you have Pisces. And Pisces, getting back to where we started, the water barrier is pouring everything into Pisces because Pisces is believed to be the combination of all the signs at once. It's all the love. It's all of the things, and it's all very hidden. And when I think of the water signs, I think of a lake because I live in Minnesota. Cancer is playful energy. They're playing at the shoreline. Mom can see everything. Scorpio's kind of underneath the surface trying to figure out which way they want to go. They can be a little bit frozen, especially if there's fear. And then Pisces just hangs out at the bottom. And it's like, oh yeah. Oh, this feels so good. And they try to escape if things get hard. So if you have a lot of Pisces in your chart, or any big water signs in your chart, my first thing, if you were to come to a consultation with me, and Jessica, you mentioned you have a lot of Pisces placements, is I would ask, do you take on other people's energy? Do you absorb what other people are bringing to the table? And can you let that go? And if you do absorb and you don't know how to shield yourself, one of the things that I do in my session is I teach you how to clear, ground, and shield yourself. And if, Jessica, if you need help with that, let me know. I'm going to go grab a plate for my food while I give you time to answer because I know there's a time delay. See, I sell Tupperware too. I have Tupperware plates. The practice that I have for grounding, shielding, and clearing my energy, I learned from Emily Dexter. She is Liker of Words here. I'm part of her Forgotten Storytellers as well. It's a simple practice, and it really does work, and it's very effective. Because when Pisces get overwhelmed, they escape, and sometimes the escape is not healthy. And what do I mean by not healthy? I mean like I escape and take on too much people's energy. It's overwhelming. I bet it is. I'm happy you found it too. So Jessica, I'm going to teach you a technique. I'm going to put this on YouTube so you can revisit it as needed. It's super simple. This is something I learned from Emily Dexter. She has lots of videos on it too. The first thing you do is you envision a waterfall. As a Pisces, whatever placements you have, thinking of water probably is helpful to you. So imagine a column of light or water coming down from the heavens and washing over you, and you command your body, any energy that is not mine must leave my space now. And you give yourself that command. And you're going to start to feel like the energy is washing off of you, just like it does in the shower. All right. Then I invite you to imagine the earth plugging into you. Now, the way I like to do it is I like ivy, you know, like the old brick with ivy up on it. I imagine that circling my feet. And I just invite that, and I start to feel grounded. Now, if you have a problem with that kind of imagery, it can be anything that makes you feel grounded. You can be as simple as taking your dominant hand and placing it on your head. I've done that at Target when people are a little bit too much. I just lean on my cart and I just look like I have a headache, but I'm actually grounding myself and nobody needs to know. Okay? It completes the circuit. The third step is shielding. Now, if you do feel like you can bring that material, it could be plant material, you can imagine a bubble or your favorite element. With the Pisces, it could be water just coming up around you and acting as a shield so that nothing, unless you want it to, comes in. And that's what those are. It's a very quick process. I now do it pretty much anytime I want. I do it before I go into Target. I do it before I have a session with a client. And then at the end of the session, I ask any energy that is not mine to go back to the sender with love and light. And I close out the session as well so that all energy is given back. Definitely let us know, Jessica, if that helps. Absolutely. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you would like to stay in touch, make sure you follow me here. I am SRB Stars on all the channels, Facebook, Instagram, here, and YouTube. I have a Patreon as well. I'm Written in the Stars, Sarah Brunison, because SRB Stars was taken there. All of that's in my link in my bio as well. And I now get to have my dinner, and I'm going to thaw some banana pudding from Magnolia for dessert. And I hope you all have a lovely night. Thank you for joining me while I make my dinner. And talk to you later. Bye. You're welcome.